Namaste, hello, adab to all my friends who know me and those who are yet to know me. I am Komal Smriti, life coach, and today I'm here to share with you an incident from my life. What this will bring to you, we'll find out. Um, Very recently, I was speaking to one of my colleague, and we were sharing lunch and talking, and she happened to ask me a question about the languages. Being brought up in India, we grow up with the influence of various different languages apart from our own mother tongue. Like my mother tongue was Hindi, but then I grew up learning and knowing a little bit about Punjabi, a little bit about Urdu, and then studied Sanskrit, learned English. So I was just talking to her, and then I reminded of one incident of my life, which has been a very embarrassing, very humiliating experience for me, but a very, very life changing and life altering moment as well. And I wanted to share that with all of you. I was in my final year of graduation. Mm, yes, final year of graduation. I always was quite fascinated with the creative career choices, and so one of the choice while I was growing up was of fashion designing. I don't know from where and how I got this idea that I wanted to be fashion designer. And then when I started to research about the schools of fashion designing, I found out about NIFT, which is National Institute of Fashion Technology in New Delhi. And I thought, yeah, that's the best institute to study if you want to study in fashion designing. And so I told my parents, and my dad back then wasn't very happy with that choice. In fact, listening just the word fashion would was sufficient to put him off, and because he didn't have a very high opinion about fashion and all those things back in I'm talking about 1998, 99, sort of 1997, 98. And he thought that it's just some fancy influence on me, and it's nothing serious, what kind of career it is, so all of that. But still I was pretty adamant, so I asked one of my college friend to help me get the prospectus for the institute. He was studying in Delhi, so he got me and one of my friend, we both wanted to appear for the exams. And so he got us the form, we filled the form, we sent it, and then I remember both her and I went to Delhi for the first time, all by ourselves, to give the entrance test for NIFT. I cleared the test, and then I got a call for interview and group discussion, which was the uh, final stage for the admission process. And when I got that letter, and my father knew that, yeah, she has cleared the entrance test, then he got a little serious about it, like considering that, oh, yeah, she's really, really serious about this. And so he started to support me. And interview, I'd never had any interview before. Group discussion, no, never did any group discussion earlier. So I said, how do I prepare for it? So I remember he took me to meet somebody who used to guide students about these interviews and group discussions and things like that. But neither he had any exposure nor I had any exposure previously of, any group discussion or interview sort of things. So we were like, okay, fine, we will see. We'll see what comes up. And before the day when I was to go there for interview and group discussion, I hadn't even stepped into NIFT. I didn't know what the institute was like, what to expect, or anything of that sort. Just that one of my friends was doing a program from there, so I just heard a few things about the institute. Anyhow, so on the day of my interview and group discussion, me and my dad, we went to Delhi and we went to the institute. So I saw the institute. There was some nukkad drama was happening in the institute. The vibe was really eclectic. There was young people going in and out, all the Delhi students, very. And I come from a small town in Hisar, studied in the government college. That culture was very different from where I was coming from. The students there were way too modern, or the term that we use, hi-fi, which is to say that more modern than me. And I was a little intimidated, to be very honest. But that was an institute where my heart was, so I just wanted to go and study there. So anyhow, we went there, and I was just silently absorbing the vibes of the place. And every minute that I spent there, and I looked at those students and I heard them communicating in English, I was like, oh my God, I was getting myself smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, I had studied English as a language and I thought that I was pretty good at it. I got good marks, but knowing a language in reading and writing is very different from having the ability to hold conversations in that language. English wasn't a language of my conversation. I'd always spoken in Hindi and I was very good at expressing myself, but had no fluency in English. Like, I could speak in English as well, but not very fluently, and not I wasn't really able to express all the thoughts that I had in English. So all that while I was getting absolutely nervous. The time for the group discussion came. I was called inside the room with the rest of the group. I went inside. The panel was made of really amazing professors from IIT Delhi, Delhi School of Economics, and all these prestigious institutions. So they gave us a topic to discuss from I think the business or economics point of view, and I did not utter a word in the group discussion. All the students, they just jumped on the topic. They were discussing, having conversation, putting their own point of views, and my mind was like rolling so fast. I felt so nervous. I still can feel what I was sensing. It felt like the words has just stuck right here in my throat. Like I had a lot to say, but the words just wouldn't come to my mouth. And I was feeling so embarrassed and so ashamed in that moment. I just wanted to vanish from that place. I wanted the earth to split and me just vanish in the earth. I just wanted to stand up and run out of that room, but my feet were like so numb and cold. I couldn't even gather the courage to just walk out of that place. Anyhow, I stood quiet for the whole time. And in the end, the panelists gave me an opportunity to sum up and summarize what the group said. For a moment, I felt like, oh, it's my saving time. I can now say whatever I have to say. But the moment I opened my mouth to say anything, the word just got stuck. I just muttered some very embarrassing sounds, and just Ugh. Oh my God. Thinking back to that moment is so embarrassing, so scary. I felt so small in that moment. I felt really small. I knew that I've just lost it. This institute is not for me. I am not going to be coming over here, and I felt like my dream has sort of gone farther and farther away from me. I came out and I didn't say much to my dad. Something similar happened even in the interview as well. I couldn't speak uh, very confidently. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. Anyhow, I just wanted the day to get over and for me to just go out of from there. Me and my dad, we came back. We both were very silent on our way back. I didn't say anything. All I knew that just one language and my dream just shattered because I couldn't speak in English. Um, I know my parents must have, I don't remember it very clearly, but I think my parents must have said things to console me, like, oh no, you're so good. I remember my dad said to me that you do have the thoughts, you do have the understanding, English isn't your first language, and all of that was true. But what that incident do to me was I felt like how could just one language become such a huge impediment in my way that I couldn't do what I really wanted to do. I couldn't study in an institution where I really wanted to. And from that day onwards, I sort of made it a mission that I will nail this language. I will nail speaking in English. And after that, I did everything to be able to speak quite fluently in English. And here I am. Well, it's been very long time that I am speaking in English, but it did happen back then. So that's how that incident was both very humiliating, very limiting, but very liberating in a way as well. Because I was really inspired to be able to speak in English. And a lot of things were quite helpful to me. I remember once one of my seniors said that in order to be able to speak in a language, you should be able to think in that language. And I'd never forgotten those words because they are so true. Language isn't just some words or some grammar or some composition of sentences. Every language is a culture in itself. Every language has some nuances, some sensibilities associated with it. And to be comfortable with any language, you do need to learn about those nuances and that culture which comes along with that language. So, how I started? I started to pay more attention to the English news. I started to see more of English serials or English movies and picked up quite a lot of expressions from those. Above all, I challenged myself to use and speak in that language. And even if it was like a few sentences and then break in between and then, speak a little more. But every time it was a challenge because when you start to speak in a particular language, you also start to learn something new about yourself. You also start to look yourself in a very different way. The ability to speak different languages isn't just a linguistic ability, it's also that you start to know yourself in a particular language, right? So I was, in a way, moving a little farther away from the girl who would speak in Hindi and had a very good expression to somebody who's just starting to speak in English and feels challenged um, in expression. So a part of me was very good in expression, then another part was feeling challenged in expressing, right? So my friends really helped me to get over this. And then when I completed my MBA and I started to work in corporate, um, fortunately or unfortunately, I got into a industry, a field where majority of my clients would come from different cultures and different parts of the world, speaking English in their own different dialects. And that was another level of complexity I had to go through in my life, where I am learning to understand English spoken by a Britisher versus an American versus a Korean versus a German versus a French versus an Italian. So I had worked with clients from all across the world speaking different dialects of English, and slowly and gradually that helped my language getting quite refined, so much so that at some point my clients complimented me on my communication with them. And that day, and every time anybody sort of compliments me on my spoken English, I go back to the memory of that same day in the room and during group discussion when I just couldn't utter a word. And it feels like I did it. I did it, and I did it well. And yeah. So, all I wanted by sharing this story with you is that, there could be so many things in our life, so many instances which feel limiting and challenging for us in so many different ways. And in those moments, we've got choices. We can either feel defeated, sit back and say, this is not for me, I'm never going that path. Or we can stay in denial or deception and say, and find faults and say that, no, I'm better at this, so it's all right if I'm not good at this, which is completely all right. It's a choice we have. Or we can say that, it's a challenge and I'll see. And try and find out how I can conquer this. What do I need to do in order to achieve what I want to achieve in this field? And maybe I've not been able to achieve one dream, but that doesn't mean that I can't see new dreams. Maybe that dream wasn't meant for me. I'll see new dreams and work hard to achieve those dreams. Or sometimes, just keep walking on, just keep moving on, just keep putting in your hard work, just keep putting one step after another. And maybe where life takes you is even far better than what you could have dreamed. So never feel dejected, disheartened for a very long time. There are moments, and such moments will keep happening in life, and it's all right to feel them. But just do not linger on in those moments. Find a way. to bring yourself out of those moments and lead the life head on. And if you carry on, there'll be a day when you will be far ahead of those limitations. They will be a thing of past which you can look back and laugh at without feeling any pain for them. So, with that thought, I'd say goodbye, good day, good night, and take care.